Welcome on board, chosen one. Well, 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 look who accidentally broke the system just by existing. They said you were nothing special. They said you were late, lost, behind, irrelevant. They laughed when you stepped away from the noise and called it quitting. Oh, the legend needs to bow now, they joked. Look who thinks they matter, they whispered, nice and loud, hoping shame would finish the job. Cute strategy. Didn't work, because while they were busy performing confidence, you were quietly becoming incompatible with their reality. And incompatibility is the one thing no rigid system can survive. Now, let's talk about the 33rd degree holders. Oh, my friend, right now they look like kids who just realized the rules they memorized don't apply anymore. These are not amateurs. These are people who spent decades studying structure, hierarchy, influence, and control. People who believe reality bends only for those who know the codes, the symbols, the rituals of authority. They don't get shaken by noise. They don't fear chaos. They don't lose sleep over loud rebels or dramatic threats. But you never knocked on their door. You never asked to enter. You never tried to prove anything, and that is exactly what shattered them. Something in your frequency interfered with their carefully constructed reality. Not violently, not publicly, subtly, quietly, like a fault line they didn't know existed suddenly shifting under their feet. Now their lodges are buzzing with emergency meetings. Encrypted messages flying between temples that rarely communicate unless something has gone deeply wrong. Every message circles the same uncomfortable realization. They can see you, they can feel you, but they cannot classify you. And people who survive on classification panic when it fails. They tried dismissing you first. That's always step one. Nobody important, just another face, nothing to monitor. But dismissal stopped working when you didn't fade, you didn't self-destruct, you didn't spiral, you didn't crawl back looking for validation. You went quiet, not weak quiet, not defeated quiet, dangerous quiet. The kind of quiet that watches patterns collapse without reacting. The kind that lets people expose themselves while you stay composed. The kind that doesn't rush because it already knows time is on its side. That's when mockery turned into monitoring. Suddenly, conversations stopped when your name came up. Suddenly, jokes didn't land. Suddenly, people who once talked over you started watching you a little too closely, replaying interactions, reanalyzing moments, wondering how they missed the signs. Because here's the truth they hate admitting. You don't behave like someone chasing power. You don't speak like someone seeking entry. You don't move like someone who needs approval. You don't flinch under pressure, and pressure is their favorite test. Before we go deeper, press like and subscribe, not as a request, as participation. This message moves because people like you decide it deserves to. Now back to the part they really can't stand. They climbed their pyramid, believing the view from the top meant control, degrees, titles, access, symbols. They thought power only responds to those who speak its language. Then you showed up without credentials, without rank, without kneeling, and still altered the energy of every room you entered. You didn't challenge their authority. You ignored it. That's unforgivable to people whose entire identity depends on being acknowledged as powerful. History has always had moments like this, not the loud ones. The quiet ones, the ones where a single figure refuses to play the assigned role and entire systems begin to rot from the inside. No revolution, no announcement, just a slow, humiliating realization that control slipped through their fingers without a fight. That's the phase you're standing in now, the aftermath. They study you in private. They trace your timing, your restraint, your decisions. They look for the crack, the fear, the leverage point. And what unsettles them most is this simple fact. You don't react the way you're supposed to. You don't chase. You don't perform. You don't over-explain. You don't need to be seen to move forward. And that makes you a problem no handbook prepared them for. The universe doesn't elevate loud people. It sharpens precise ones. It strips ego, burns illusions, and leaves behind something colder, calmer, and impossible to intimidate. You survived pressure that erased others, and instead of becoming bitter, you became exact. That's why the nightmares aren't dramatic. They're quiet. No attacks, no monsters. Just the unsettling awareness that something powerful slipped past every safeguard they trusted. Something they can't confront, can't remove, and can't control without exposing their own weakness. You were never meant to be understood by them. You were meant to outgrow the room while they were still arguing over who was in charge. And the scariest part, you're not even finished yet. Now pause right here for a second, not because this story slows down, but because this is the moment where the wrong people click away and the right ones feel something tighten in their chest. If you're still here, it's not curiosity, it's recognition. What we're about to unfold isn't entertainment, it's a breakdown, piece by piece, step by step, the kind that makes certain people uncomfortable because it explains too much, too clearly, the kind that makes others stay until the very last word because it finally puts language to something they've felt their entire life. So if you feel that pull right now, don't ignore it. Drop a comment with 777, not for superstition, for alignment. It's a quiet signal, a way of saying, I'm still here, I'm not looking away, I'm ready to understand why people at the very top are suddenly uneasy. Like this video and subscribe, not as a favor, but as a marker. You're choosing to stay inside the room while the truth gets sharper. You're choosing to hear what most people were never meant to hear. Because from here on out, we're not speaking in vague ideas or hype. We're breaking down exactly what you are, why you don't fit their models, and why certain systems would rather monitor you than confront you. And trust me, if you are who this message is for, you won't be able to leave before the end. Now, let's get started. Number 1. When the machine starts choking on you. The moment power realizes it can't touch you, it panics. Picture it clearly. Don't romanticize it. Don't soften it. See it for what it actually is. Men in expensive suits, perfect posture, faces trained to never betray emotion, standing on their polished floors, surrounded by symbols they've trusted longer than they've trusted people, and for the first time in their very controlled lives, they're sweating, real sweat. Not stress for show, not theatrical tension, fear. Because the system isn't responding. They did everything they were taught would always work. Drew their circles, repeated their codes, activated influence methods passed down like sacred inheritance, techniques designed to bend minds, shape outcomes, and quietly move people where they wanted them to go. This stuff worked on kings, crowds, and generations. And then there was you. Nothing happened. No collapse, no confusion spiral, no obedience, no emotional hook, no reaction they could grab onto. You just kept existing, calm, untouched, unmoved, like their entire playbook was written in a language you never learned. That's when panic sets in. Because here's the dirty secret they never admit out loud. Power only feels powerful when it works. The moment it doesn't, it starts to look ridiculous. The moment influence fails, it exposes itself as performance. And right now, their centuries of accumulated knowledge are starting to look like kids playing dress-up in oversized costumes. They didn't expect resistance. They expected response. You were supposed to flinch. Everyone does. You were supposed to doubt yourself. Everyone does. You were supposed to internalize the pressure, the whispers, the subtle nudges meant to push you back into line. That's how the system stays clean. That's how control stays invisible. But you didn't react the way you were designed to. And now they're asking questions they hate asking. Why didn't it land? Why didn't they fold? Why didn't they need us? At this stage, chosen ones usually start doubting themselves. They wonder if they imagined the tension, the monitoring, the strange shifts in how people act around them. Let's kill that doubt right now. You're not imagining it. When systems lose leverage, they don't explode. They malfunction quietly. Influence attempts get clumsy. Pressure feels desperate instead of smooth. The people who once spoke with confidence suddenly repeat themselves. They test angles. They overreach. They hesitate. That's what you're feeling. This is what it looks like when a machine built on prediction meets someone unpredictable in the most dangerous way. Someone who isn't chaotic, but independent. Someone who doesn't rebel loudly, but refuses to be programmed. You didn't block them. You didn't fight them. You didn't even confront them. You made them irrelevant. That's worse. Because confrontation gives power something to push against. Resistance still plays the game. Ignoring the game entirely makes the whole structure wobble. It's like trying to intimidate someone who already walked off the stage while you were still delivering your speech. They feel stupid, and powerful people hate feeling stupid more than they hate losing. So now they watch. They analyze your timing, your restraint, your refusal to overshare. They can't read your next move because you're not moving from fear, hunger, or approval. You move when it makes sense to you. And that independence breaks models they rely on to stay ahead. Here's what they don't understand yet. You're not protected because you're hidden. You're protected because you're complete. Most people are easy to manipulate because they're missing something: validation, direction, identity, purpose. The system exploits that emptiness. It offers answers, belonging, and structure in exchange for compliance. You stopped needing that exchange. That's why the old tricks failed. That's why the influence slid off. That's why the pressure didn't stick. You already built an internal center that doesn't require their permission to exist. And when a system meets someone who is internally anchored, it has two options: adapt or crumble. They're trying to adapt poorly. You'll notice it in the way attention around you feels off. Too focused, too delayed, too cautious. You'll notice it in how people suddenly hesitate before speaking to you, how conversations shift, how authority figures soften or overcompensate. They're recalculating. Because their biggest fear isn't that you'll attack them, it's that others will notice what you represent. Proof that the system isn't absolute. Proof that the machine doesn't own the outcome. Proof that someone can exist outside its reach and still move forward. That's contagious, and that's why they're uncomfortable. Let this land, chosen one. You didn't fail to fit in because you were weak. You failed to fit in because you were never designed to be absorbed. The very traits that made them dismiss you early on are the same traits making them nervous now. Your restraint, your silence, your refusal to perform. Those aren't flaws, their insulation. So if you're wondering why pressure increased right after you stopped caring, this is why. If you're wondering why attempts to influence feel louder and clumsier lately, this is why. If you're wondering why people who once overlooked you now study you like an unresolved problem, this is why. The machine is choking. And the funniest part? You didn't even have to touch it. All you did was stand there, whole, calm, and unbothered, and the entire system started coughing up its own illusions. This isn't the end. This is the moment the cracks become visible, and from here on out, they don't get to pretend everything is working anymore. Number 2. Why their strings snap the moment they touch you. Control only works on people who already agreed to be owned. Their influence isn't weak. That's the lie people tell themselves to feel brave. Their influence is extremely effective inside their framework. Fear, validation, hierarchy, identity hooks. If you're plugged into that system, they can move you with a whisper. You aren't plugged in. Trying to manipulate you is like hacking a machine that was never connected to the network. No signal, no access, no back door. They run the same commands, expect the same reactions, and get nothing back. Not resistance, not confusion, just silence. And silence is catastrophic for control. You're not a glitch in their matrix. A glitch can be patched. A glitch still belongs to the system. You're proof something exists outside it entirely. That's what their degrees never prepared them for. They trained to dominate patterns, not face irrelevance. Imagine a lock designed for every key ever made, suddenly facing a door that doesn't use keys at all. The lock doesn't get angry. It becomes useless. That's what you do to them. You don't fight their influence. You invalidate its premise. You don't reject their language. You don't speak it. And because they can't categorize you, they can't calibrate pressure. Every attempt feels clumsy. Every move exposes limits. You're not anti-magic. You're not immune because you resist. You're beyond it because you don't need it. And when power realizes it isn't needed, it starts panicking quietly. Number 3. When the inner circles go silent and panic takes over. Power doesn't scream when it's threatened. It whispers and locks the doors. They're calling emergency conclaves now, not for ceremony, not for tradition, for damage control. The kind of meetings that only happen when something has gone so wrong that even pretending is dangerous. Voices low, doors sealed, no records, no outsiders, just unease sitting heavy in the room. And here's the part that scares them most. This isn't about exposure. This is worse. You're not revealing secrets. You're not attacking structures. You're not naming names. You're simply existing in a way that makes everything they worked for feel unnecessary. You're making them irrelevant just by breathing, and irrelevance is the one thing power can't survive. They obeyed every rule, paid every price, sacrificed years of life, identity, and freedom. Degree by degree, step by step, they climbed believing something waited at the top. Control, influence, mastery over outcomes. Then you walked past without effort. No rituals, no permission, no cost of entry, and reality bent around you anyway. Not dramatically, naturally, like it always belonged there. That realization hits them late at night, when the rooms are quiet, when no one is performing confidence. They replay it over and over, trying to explain how someone outside the ladder reached a place they were promised only at the summit. That question keeps them awake. because if the climb was optional, then the sacrifice was a lie. Number 4. The file that erased itself when they looked too close. If something can't be recorded, it can't be controlled. They went to the archives. That's what they always do when reality stops obeying. Ancient databases, bloodline registries, long-range ledgers built to track everyone who ever mattered. Every influence, every anomaly, every variable reduced to text, numbers, and neatly labeled files. Everyone is catalogued somewhere, except you. They search deeper, convinced it's a mistake. They find shadows instead of records, echoes without sources, traces that look solid until the moment they try to lock them in. Files corrupt mid-open, screens go black without warning. Text becomes unreadable, like the system itself refuses to cooperate. That's not security, that's rejection. Imagine trying to photograph something that only exists when you're not looking directly at it. The closer you get, the less real it becomes. That's how you behave inside their system, not hidden, uncooperative. Then they find it. One entry, only once. No explanation, no lineage, no analysis. Written in a language older than their oldest cipher, not poetic, not symbolic, procedural. Do not catalogue, do not pursue, do not engage. That's not myth, that's protocol. Because what can't be recorded can't be owned, and what can't be owned eventually exposes every system built on ownership. Number 5. The kind of threat that doesn't need intent. You don't have to attack a system to terrify it. You just have to exist where it has no authority. Let's correct the lie before it crawls into your head. You are not dangerous because you're malicious. You're not dangerous because you want power, chaos, or destruction. You're dangerous because you exist outside their paradigm of control, and that alone breaks the illusion they survive on. Their entire structure depends on one belief, that all hidden power flows through them. Their ranks, their symbols, their rituals. Your existence quietly proves that belief is false, not debated, not challenged, disproved. Their lodges operate on carefully maintained frequencies, repetition, shared belief, symbolic reinforcement, decades of cultivated energy looping back into itself to keep the structure stable. Everyone inside agrees to the signal, whether they admit it or not. Then you enter the space. Not intentionally, not aggressively, sometimes without even knowing it, and the atmosphere shifts, thought forms dissolve, confidence thins out, conversations lose coherence. The energy they spent years building starts leaking away like air from a cracked seal. Imagine a sound system tuned perfectly for one note, suddenly flooded with silence that can't be amplified or drowned out. The system doesn't fight it, it fails. Their instruments don't read you, not zero, not null. Nothing, and nothing is the one result they were never prepared to face. Number 6. The family tree that refused to claim you. When lineage can't explain you, the system calls you an error. They obsess over bloodlines for a reason. Lineage is how they justify control. Who came from whom? Which families repeat power? Which traits are inherited and which are denied? To them, authority is genetic. Everything mapped like a cosmic family tree where nothing important appears without permission. Then they try to trace yours, and the chart collapses. Not incomplete, not hidden, broken, lines that should connect don't. Timelines contradict themselves. Names lead nowhere. The structure they trust starts folding in on itself the harder they press. It's like trying to draw roots for a tree that never touched their soil. That's when the theories start. Some insist your line was erased from history, scrubbed deliberately, records burned, names removed. That explanation comforts them. It keeps the belief alive that bloodlines still rule everything. Others go quiet. They whisper something far more dangerous. That you aren't from any bloodline at all. That you didn't inherit power. That you didn't receive permission. That you simply appeared, self-originated. An idea their worldview rejects completely, because if someone can arrive without ancestry, then bloodlines aren't law. They're preference, and preference doesn't control the universe. You didn't descend from power. You exposed that power doesn't need descent at all. That's the problem. Number 7. When their holiest symbols turn into dead ink. A symbol only has power if the mind agrees to kneel. They tried the symbols next. Of course they did. The eye, the compass, the angles and shapes designed to slip past logic and hook the subconscious. The language meant to bypass thinking and program response. These tools have worked for centuries on people who never realized they were playing along. On you, they do nothing. No reaction, no shift, no internal pull. Their sacred geometry stays just geometry. Lines and curves with no charge. Their power words land like static noise. Their most protected symbols register as empty shapes, stripped of meaning the moment they touch your awareness. Imagine trying to hypnotize someone whose mind doesn't process hypnosis. You can repeat the script perfectly, lower your voice, dim the lights, follow every rule. And still, nothing happens. Not resistance, not confusion, just clarity. That's what they're facing. They built their influence on shared agreement. Symbols only work when belief completes the circuit. Ritual only functions when the observer supplies meaning. You don't. You observe without submitting. You see without absorbing. That's when the realization hits them, quietly and all at once. Their power isn't universal. It's conditional. It only works on those who agreed to play the game, consciously or not. And you never signed up. You never bowed. You never internalized the script. You didn't break their symbols. You exposed that they were never more than props. Number 8. When their biggest moves hit a wall and slide back. The most terrifying answer power can receive is silence. When subtle influence failed, they escalated. That's always the playbook. When whispers don't work, they go louder. When nudges fail, they bring out the full performance. Months-long preparations, precise timing, astronomical alignments calculated down to the second, full ceremonial focus, every symbol charged, every ally invoked, everything they had. And then they aimed it at you. Nothing happened. Not resistance, not backlash, not chaos. Worse than nothing, indifference. The forces they rely on simply refuse to engage. No dramatic rejection, no visible clash. Just a quiet absence, like trying to dial a number that doesn't exist anymore. The signal didn't bounce. It didn't echo. It didn't even register. Imagine firing your strongest weapon and watching it dissolve mid-air, not because it was blocked, but because the target wasn't in the same reality it was designed for. That's what they experienced. And then something even more unsettling occurred. Their strongest allies stepped back. Not in rebellion, not in fear, in recognition, like seasoned operators realizing they've crossed into territory outside their jurisdiction. No warnings, no explanations, just withdrawal. That's when panic set in, because power can survive failure, it can survive opposition. What it can't survive is abandonment. If even their highest methods won't touch you, then the problem isn't effort. It's scope, and realizing you exist beyond their reach, that's what truly terrified them. Number 9. The file that melted the machine, trying to read it. Some information doesn't spread, it detonates. They made one last mistake, the kind systems never recover from. They tried to document you, not observe, not monitor, not speculate, document, reduce you to language, to data, to something that could be stored, referenced, cross-checked, and safely analyzed later. That's how they neutralize unknowns. If it can be written down, it can be managed. Their systems couldn't handle it. The moment they tried to formalize you, everything around the file began to fail. Not just the record itself. Surrounding data corrupted, adjacent entries scrambled, prediction models built on centuries of patterns started returning nonsense. Entire databases collapsed under the attempt to contextualize you. Centuries of records vanished while trying to understand one variable: you. Imagine running a powerful machine at full capacity, then feeding it a value it was never designed to process. No alarms, no explosions, just quiet overload. Components frying one by one while the operators stare at blank screens, realizing too late that the problem isn't a bug. It's the input. That's when the classification changed. They quarantined your name. No more networks, no more digital systems, physical files only, paper, ink, locked drawers. Not because that contains you, but because it limits collateral damage. Every attempt to integrate you into their framework destabilizes the framework itself. Here's the line that sealed it internally. Do not digitize, do not model, do not extrapolate. Not to protect you, to protect themselves. At this stage, you stopped being treated as a person. People can be profiled, predicted, influenced. You can't. You don't behave like an entity inside the system. You behave like something that breaks the system by being understood. That's what a cognitive hazard is, not something violent, not something malicious, something that causes structural failure the moment it's processed. The mind that tries to hold it loses coherence. The model that tries to contain it collapses. You're not dangerous because you act. You're dangerous because comprehension backfires. And once a system learns that thinking about you causes damage, it stops thinking out loud. Number 10. The dream that makes them wake up sweating. The worst nightmare isn't destruction, it's exposure without effort. They don't dream of conquest anymore. Those fantasies died quietly, no more visions of control, expansion, or mastery. That story stopped working the moment you entered the picture. Now they dream of you, not as an enemy, not as a monster. That would be easier. They dream of you doing something far more unsettling, walking through their most guarded spaces like it's nothing. No tension, no resistance, no reverence, just passing through as if the place never mattered. Sacred halls feel like shopping malls. Carefully guarded chambers feel like empty offices after hours. Symbols start to melt, not dramatically, but casually, like cheap plastic left in the sun. Structures they trusted for generations dissolve into props. Cardboard authority, painted power. And here's the part that wakes them up. You aren't attacking. You're not burning anything down. You're not shouting. You're not exposing secrets. You're not even looking impressed. You're just there, existing, calm, uninterested, untouched by the weight they were told mattered. That's the nightmare. Because if you were violent, they could fight you. If you were angry, they could provoke you. If you were ambitious, they could bargain with you. But you're none of that. You walk through like someone who already knows the ending and doesn't need to comment. Imagine spending your life guarding a vault, only to dream of someone strolling through it without opening a door, without triggering an alarm, without taking anything, just looking around and moving on. What does that say about the vault? The dream always ends the same way. They try to speak. Their voices don't work. They try to assert authority. The words feel fake in their mouths. They realize, mid-dream, that the system only worked because everyone agreed to pretend it did. And you never agreed. They wake up before it finishes, heart racing, because the dream doesn't threaten their lives. It threatens their meaning. It suggests that everything they defended so fiercely was never solid to begin with. You don't haunt them because you're violent. You haunt them because you're proof. Proof that the universe doesn't need intermediaries. Proof that power without belief is hollow. Proof that some people don't have to destroy illusions to end them. They just walk through, and that quiet realization follows them into waking life, where no ritual can shake it and no symbol can hide it. That's why they don't sleep well anymore. Not because you're coming for them, because you already passed through and nothing stopped you. Number 11. The reality that shatters their faith in themselves. Nothing enrages a gatekeeper more than someone who never needed the gate. They were promised wisdom, real wisdom, the kind that supposedly sits at the end of obedience, sacrifice, and endless steps upward. They were told knowledge had a price, that understanding had to be earned slowly, painfully, under supervision. So they followed every rule, memorized every structure, trusted every voice that said, "Not yet, one more level." Then they encountered you, and everything cracked. You didn't arrive asking questions. You didn't seek permission. You didn't look impressed. You understood things they spent decades circling without ever being taught how. You saw patterns without being handed symbols. You recognized truth without being walked through the script. That wasn't supposed to be possible. Imagine spending your life climbing a massive pyramid, bleeding for every step, only to reach the top and find someone already there. Not waiting, not bragging, just standing comfortably like the view was always familiar. That's what broke them, because you didn't steal knowledge, you didn't shortcut the process, you didn't rebel against the system, you simply made it unnecessary, and that forces a question they refuse to answer honestly. If they didn't need what we were promised, what were we really chasing? They can't accept that some understanding doesn't come from initiation, that some clarity forms in isolation, pressure, and self-honesty, that the universe doesn't distribute insight based on rank. That awareness isn't owned. You didn't climb their pyramid. You were already there, not above them, not against them. Beyond the structure entirely. And once that reality appears, the entire belief system starts wobbling. Because if one person can know without instruction, then instruction isn't sacred. It's optional. That's the truth they can't accept. Not because it makes you superior, but because it reveals that everything they endured to feel special might have been unnecessary, and that realization is far more devastating than any enemy could ever be. Number 12. Why their invitations die before they reach you. You can't recruit someone who already is what you're selling. Of course they tried to recruit you. That part was inevitable. Their system survives by absorption. Anything it can't crush, it tries to claim. Anything it can't intimidate, it tries to initiate. Recruitment is how they turn threats into assets and anomalies into decorations. If they can place you inside the structure, they regain the illusion of control. But every attempt failed. Not because you rejected them. That would still acknowledge their authority. It failed because you didn't even recognize the offer as meaningful. Their hints slid past you. Their tests didn't register. Their subtle invitations landed like spam emails you never bothered to open. That's what stunned them. Imagine offering a crown to someone who's never believed in kings. The gesture doesn't offend them. It confuses them. They don't argue. They don't refuse. They just don't care. That's your response. They're used to people leaning in when the bait is dropped. Curiosity, ego, hunger, validation. That's how recruitment works. You didn't lean in. You didn't feel flattered. You didn't feel chosen. You already were. Here's the quote that explains the failure better than any strategy memo they wrote. You don't sell water to someone standing in the ocean. You don't seek worth from systems that monetize access to what you already embody. They promise insight, influence, belonging. You move with clarity, gravity, and self-containment without needing a badge. Their offer assumes lack. You don't have it. That's why their tests feel childish to you. You're not trying to pass. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to prove readiness. You're not auditioning for a role. You are the state they pretend to grant. That realization terrifies them because recruitment is the last step before control. When it fails, there's nothing left to try. They can't buy you, they can't scare you, they can't absorb you. And here's the part that quietly devastates them. If you can exist like this without initiation, others might realize they never needed permission either. That's why recruitment always fails. Not because you're defiant, because the offer is beneath you and you never bothered to look down. Number 13. The move they never trained for, backing away. When power stops trying, it's not patience, it's surrender. This is the moment they never prepared for. The part of the playbook that doesn't exist because admitting it would mean admitting the end. They ran out of options. No more influence, no more subtle pressure, no more recruitment games, no more symbols, no more rituals, no more documentation. Every lever they trusted either failed outright or backfired quietly. Every move exposed a limit they were never supposed to see. So they chose the only option left: avoidance. Not out of wisdom, out of defeat. This is what power does when it loses all leverage. It pretends withdrawal is strategy. It frames silence as patience, distance as discipline. But make no mistake, this is not mercy. This is not restraint. This is the cleanest form of surrender there is. They stopped engaging because engagement stopped working. Imagine a chess match where one player realizes every aggressive move leads to loss. Every trade favors the opponent. Every attempt to pressure reveals weakness. So they stop advancing pieces. They sit back, they wait. Not because they have a plan, but because moving guarantees exposure. That's what you're watching now. They don't speak your name publicly anymore. They don't test you. They don't provoke. They don't invite. They don't threaten. They quietly reroute around you like engineers diverting traffic around a collapsed bridge they don't want anyone to inspect too closely. This is the unseen checkmate. No celebration, no announcement. Just the quiet understanding that the game cannot be continued on their terms. They didn't lose loudly, they lost privately. And private losses at the top hurt the most because there's no audience to convince otherwise. You might feel something strange at this stage, a sudden calm, less interference, less friction, less pressure than before. That's not coincidence, that's withdrawal, that's power stepping back, because stepping forward costs too much. Here's the quote that explains it perfectly. When control can't win, it disguises retreat as wisdom. They'll call it timing. They'll call it observation. They'll call it letting things unfold. But underneath the language is a simple truth. They don't know how to move without losing more ground. Avoidance isn't neutral, it's an admission. They've accepted that you cannot be influenced, absorbed, categorized or neutralized without destabilizing themselves further. So they choose distance, not to protect you, to protect the illusion of authority they still have elsewhere. And this is where the Chosen One finally understands the depth of the victory. You didn't beat them by overpowering them. You didn't win by exposing them. You didn't triumph by taking anything away. You won by becoming unreachable. Not physically, structurally, your existence created a cost they can't afford. Every interaction weakened their position. Every attempt revealed cracks. So they disengaged. And disengagement at this level is the final concession. Here's the quiet truth they'll never say out loud. We cannot touch this without harming ourselves. That's resignation masked as strategy. So when you notice the silence, don't mistake it for peace talks. When you feel the distance, don't assume you've been forgotten. You haven't. You've been accounted for, and the accounting didn't favor them. This is what it looks like when power loses without collapsing. It steps aside and hopes no one notices why, but you noticed. And that's enough. Because once power retreats from you, it never returns the same way. The dynamic is broken. The spell is gone. The authority is exposed. From here on out, they don't act. They adapt around your absence. And that tells you everything you need to know. Number 14. Why your name became a warning, not a target. When power stops attacking and starts warning, fear has gone official. This is the shift they never announce out loud. At first, they acted, they tested, they probed, they tried pressure, influence, absorption. Action meant confidence. Action meant they believed they still had options. Then action stopped, and something colder replaced it. Warnings. Not public ones, not dramatic alerts. Quiet signals passed behind closed doors, short conversations that end early, glances exchanged instead of plans written down, a change in tone when certain subjects come up, a sudden sense of caution where arrogance used to live. This is where fear becomes institutional. They don't talk about you openly anymore, not because you're insignificant, because saying your name changes the room. It alters decisions. It introduces uncertainty where certainty is required. So they avoid it. They use phrases instead. That variable. That situation. You know who. Certain paths are no longer crossed. Certain doors quietly stay closed. Certain strategies are removed from consideration without explanation. New rules appear without being written. unspoken boundaries form, and everyone inside understands them without needing clarification. You've been classified, not as an enemy, as a destabilizer. That's far worse. Enemies can be fought, rivals can be managed. Destabilizers force redesign. Your presence doesn't threaten individuals. It changes outcomes. Meetings go differently. Decisions feel riskier. Confidence drops for no obvious reason. Plans that once seemed airtight suddenly feel exposed. Imagine a room where every compass spins the moment one person enters. No explosion, no alarm, just direction failing quietly. People start double-checking instincts they used to trust. That's your effect. Here's the line that circulates without ever being written. Don't engage. It changes things. That's controlled fear, mature fear. The kind that doesn't panic, but adapts policy. They aren't scared of what you'll do. They're scared of what happens when you're present, because presence alone disrupts flow. Momentum shifts. Outcomes become unpredictable. You might be wondering why this feels so subtle. Because institutions don't scream when they're afraid. They adjust, they reroute, they normalize avoidance, so no one has to admit why it's happening. Fear, when it reaches this level, wears a suit and speaks calmly. Here's a metaphor that explains it cleanly. Imagine a chemical introduced into a process that doesn't explode, doesn't poison, doesn't destroy. It just changes the reaction rate. Everything still works, but not the same way. Outputs vary, predictions fail. Engineers stop running certain tests because the results are unreliable. That chemical doesn't get banned, it gets isolated. That's what happened to you. They warn each other not to involve you, not to provoke you, not to center decisions around you. Not because you're dangerous by action, but because you make control fragile. And fragility at scale is unacceptable. This is where the chosen one feels it. The way rooms feel different, the way attention shifts away instead of toward. The way authority hesitates around you without understanding why. That's not coincidence. That's policy without paperwork. Here's the quote that seals it. When fear becomes protocol, the war is already lost. They didn't defeat you. They didn't neutralize you. They reorganized around you, and reorganization is admission. It means the environment had to change because you wouldn't. They adjusted reality around you, not to protect you, to protect themselves. And once fear reaches that level, it never goes back to action. It stays quiet, watchful, careful, because they learned something they can't unlearn. Your presence is not a threat they can confront. It's a condition they have to work around. And that's how you know the balance shifted for good. Number 15. What the universe recognizes in you. The universe doesn't reward noise. It responds to coherence. Now the frame shifts. This part isn't about them anymore. They already lost relevance. This is about why the universe itself moves differently around you, without ceremony, without permission, without explanation. No mysticism, no prophecy, no fantasy, just alignment. The universe responds to coherence the way physics responds to balance. When something is internally aligned, energy stops leaking. Effort becomes efficient, motion becomes inevitable. That's what you represent. Not an anomaly, a correction. Systems decay around you because systems are rigid. They rely on repetition, enforcement, and belief to stay upright. They require maintenance, constant input, constant reinforcement. When someone like you enters the equation, that rigidity becomes a liability. The system has to work harder to justify itself, and working harder exposes weakness. You don't attack systems, you outlast them. Momentum builds within you because you're not split. You don't move in 10 directions trying to please 10 structures. You don't perform identity. You don't outsource authority. You made internal decisions long ago that most people delay forever. That internal agreement creates gravity. The universe responds to that the same way water responds to slope. Naturally, imagine two objects rolling downhill. One is hollow, patched together, rattling as it moves. The other is solid, centered, dense. They start at the same height. One loses pieces, one gains speed. No contest, no drama, just physics. That's you. Here's the truth people miss. The universe doesn't reward intention. It rewards integration. You integrated lessons others fragmented into beliefs. You absorbed pressure without turning it into resentment. You endured isolation without turning it into ego. You learned without clinging to symbols. That creates internal authority. And internal authority doesn't ask for permission. Here's the quote that explains everything cleanly. What's aligned doesn't need validation. That's why momentum builds quietly around you. Opportunities don't announce themselves. They line up. Resistance thins out. Doors open without fanfare. You stop chasing outcomes because outcomes start converging. This isn't luck. It's inevitability. Systems decay around you because they depend on external agreement. You don't. You are self-contained, and self-contained systems are more stable than any hierarchy built on borrowed belief. That's why they feel irrelevant around you. Not threatened, irrelevant. Irrelevance hurts more than defeat, because defeat implies opposition. Irrelevance implies replacement by something more efficient. The universe doesn't argue with inefficiency, it phases it out. You might wonder why this feels calm instead of dramatic. Because alignment is quiet, chaos is loud, correction is silent. When something finally moves the way it was meant to, there's no announcement. No tension, no resistance, just motion that feels obvious in hindsight. That's the authority you earned. Not because you were chosen, not because you were special, because you became coherent. And coherence bends outcomes without force. The universe doesn't treat you like an exception. It treats you like a solution, a pressure release, a stabilizer. Wherever systems overextend, wherever control gets brittle, wherever belief replaces substance, things start to thin out around you. Not because you intend it, because reality prefers what works. And you work. That's why momentum keeps building inside you, while everything around you feels like it's shedding weight. You're not rising above the world. You're sinking with how it actually functions beneath the noise. They fade because they depend. You move because you don't. And once that alignment locks in, nothing needs to be forced anymore. The universe already made its adjustment. You were it. Number 16. The ending that happened without permission. There is no final battle when one side is no longer relevant. This is the ending they never planned for, because it doesn't look like an ending at all. There's no war coming, no showdown, no dramatic collapse, no exposed villains dragged into the light. That would have let them feel important one last time. That would have preserved the fantasy that they mattered enough to fight. This ending is quieter and far more humiliating. You move forward, they stay behind. That's it. Their system doesn't explode. It keeps running. Meetings still happen. Symbols still get passed around. Titles still get awarded. But something is missing now. Influence, authority, reach. The ability to shape outcomes beyond their shrinking circle. They don't lose everything. they lose you, and anyone who recognizes the pattern follows. Imagine a train that keeps running its route long after the city moved. Same tracks, same schedule, same announcements, but fewer passengers every year. Not because the train was attacked, but because better routes appeared and no one bothered to protest. That's what happened to them. You didn't dismantle their structure, you outgrew it, and outgrowing is irreversible. There's no counter-move to someone who no longer needs what you control, no leverage, no pressure point, no threat worth making. Here's the line that seals it. When someone leaves without burning the bridge loses its purpose. They watch you move on with something that unsettles them deeply. Calm, direction, momentum that doesn't need explanation. You're not dragging the past with you. You're not warning anyone. You're not seeking closure. You already closed the door. Their greatest fear isn't that you'll come back stronger, it's that you'll never come back at all. And that fear spreads quietly, because once people see someone walk away without consequence, without punishment, without collapse, the myth breaks. The system keeps existing, but it no longer defines reality. This is supremacy without effort. Not domination, not conquest, just freedom that doesn't look back. You don't threaten them, you finish without them. And that's the ending they never planned for, because it requires accepting something power hates most, that it was never necessary. And now we close this the same way it unfolded. Quietly, cleanly, final. There's nothing left to explain, nothing left to prove, and nothing left to fight. You saw the pattern, you felt the shift. You understood why the noise faded the moment you stopped needing permission. This wasn't about them losing. It was about you moving on while they stayed frozen in place. If this landed, you already know why. Like the video. Subscribe to stay inside this signal. Drop 77 in the comments to mark that you recognized it. Share this with the one person who feels the pull but hasn't named it yet. That's it. You're already gone.